Apart from developing career pathways for your TAs, how do you use them in your special school setting? Um, I guess if you could you describe it first, and then think about ways that that would translate into a mainstream school.
Mm. We've done enormous amounts of training with our TAs, and training TAs is quite difficult um, because you're paying them for a set time, you know. So uh, actually, and because we've got so many, we've got over 150. So it's very expensive if we were to take them off timetable to train them or ask them to stay after school and things like that. And they have other commitments as well, you know. So what we have tried to do, we've developed a system where we train them in-house on the job. So what we've got is we've got, if you like, middle leaders, which are the equivalent of your heads of department. So instead of having a head of English, I'll have a head of autism, for instance. And underneath those middle leaders, we've got HLTAs. Now, we've been very lucky to appoint HLTAs who, by and large, have had a career in teaching. They've been teachers, and they just don't want to be teachers. But we've appointed HLTAs who can teach other people. That's the most important thing, is that they've got an understanding of, say, autism, but they can then teach the TAs strategies to use in the classroom. And so for half the time, those HLTAs actually do PPA, they do cover. But for the other half of the time, so 2.5 days a week, don't always, but we like them to go into classrooms and train TAs on the job. And it depends on the focus in that class, and that focus will be determined by the head of department, for instance, so the head of autism, and the class teacher. So they might say, actually, I've been observed recently, and we need a bit of support with asking the right questions of our students. How do we ask those questions? How do we really get underneath that learning? And so the HLTA will go in and support those TAs to ask the right questions and to follow through on those questions, because they really are quite gifted people. And so this training on the job has meant that we've been able to develop a workforce. Of course, the cost is the cost of the HLTA. But has it been, given that we've got 150 TAs, it's a well worth cost. We've got 3 HLTAs that do it, so it's the cost of 3 part-time HLTAs that actually do that job. Has it worked? I would suggest it has. And also, you know, we do a review of the year with the whole school, everybody, and certainly they would suggest that actually if they get good training from our staff, whether it's from our middle leaders or our senior leaders or our HLTAs, training is there. The other thing which we're going to do this year is, and we've already begun it, is our focus is when we plan a lesson, the teachers know that they have to plan opportunities to actually train their staff on the job. So when they're looking at lessons, when they're looking for what they're teaching, what do they make explicit to the additional staff in the lesson, and how can they support those additional staff to do it? And they've got to strategically plan for it. So if they've got 5 TAs in the lesson and they're doing a maths lesson, and it's a functional skills maths lesson, are they going to deliberately work with this one TA, period 1 on the Monday morning, and another TA, period 2 on a Tuesday? So that they're knowing that they're systematically providing training for their TAs as well as the HLTAs, and that's will be part of our planning process, hopefully.